Good morning, and thank you very much for being here today. 3 weeks ago, in the face of congressional inaction, President Biden used his executive authority and suspended the entry of non-citizens across the southern border. We are imposing stricter consequences for those who cross the border without authorization. These actions are changing the calculus for those considering crossing our border. Still, as I will continue to make clear, they are no substitute for congressional action. The bipartisan border agreement would have added 1,500 Border Patrol agents and CBP officers, added 1,200 Immigration and Customs Enforcement personnel, and more. We are continuing to call on Congress to provide the resources we need to support our men and women on the front lines of our border. I just received an operational briefing on the success of the President's action so far here in the Tucson sector and a long work of our personnel. Our team did an exceptional job quickly implementing this new policy, and we are already seeing the results. Here in Tucson, we have seen a more than 45% drop in U.S. Border Patrol encounters since the President took action, and repatriations of encountered individuals in Tucson have increased by nearly 150%. As a result, in Tucson, we have seen a more than 80% decrease in individuals placed into immigration proceedings and our backlogged court system. Across the entire southern border, Border Patrol encounters have dropped by over 40%. We are removing more non-citizens without a legal basis to stay here, nearly doubling the rate at which we are removing non-citizens directly from Border Patrol custody here in Tucson and across the southern border. In 3 weeks, we have operated over 100 international repatriation flights to more than 20 countries and removed or returned more than 24,000 individuals. The President's actions are working because of their tough response to illegal crossings and because they built on our sustained effort to exercise our full authorities to enforce the law and impose consequences for illegal entry. We are attacking the smuggling organizations that prey on the vulnerable, even as the smugglers try to undermine our actions. We are also working with partner nations in the region and building lawful pathways for people to seek humanitarian relief in a safe and orderly way. This is all being executed by our incredible personnel: CBP Border Patrol agents, field operations officers, Air and Marine agents, ICE ERO officers and HSI agents, USCIS asylum officers, and others in DHS and across the federal government have done incredible work implementing the President's executive actions and meeting the challenges at the border. I want to recognize the leadership here and the people whom they lead, some of whom are behind you, for the incredible work they do every single day, so very many of them at personal risk. I want to reiterate, this is no substitute. The executive actions are no substitute for congressional action. Only Congress can deliver a full and lasting solution. Only Congress, through legislation, can fix what everyone agrees is a broken immigration system that was last updated almost 30 years ago. Only Congress can give us the resources we need. We have been under-resourced for decades. We need timely funds to hire more agents, officers, and support personnel, to buy, install, and maintain more technology, hire more judges to move cases faster, and equip us to remove more quickly people who do not qualify for relief, and more. Only Congress can provide these funds. The needed fixes to our broken immigration system and the resources that our frontline agents and officers have repeatedly asked for and deserve were exactly what the Senate's bipartisan border security bill would have delivered. It was bipartisan legislation that was negotiated for months and would have delivered the toughest border measures in decades. But politics got in the way. The President took action. The border security steps we have taken over the past 18 months are bringing order. With that, we'll open it up to your questions.
Hi, thanks so much for doing this. Elisa Resnick with KJZZ.
I'm sorry, a little hard to hear.
Sorry, Elisa Resnick with KJZZ. Migrants deported in Nogales report not being given their belongings back and not receiving any paperwork about their deportation. What is their legal status in terms of when they are deported? What sort of paperwork should they be receiving, and why are their belongings not given back?
We do take individuals' belongings for the safety and security of the personnel in our custody and the safety and security of the agents. We return the individuals' belongings when they are removed or when they are moved to a different facility. That is our standard operating procedures. And when individuals are removed, they are subject to a 5-year bar to admission to the United States.
Good morning, Secretary. Are there plans to increase appointments with CBP-1?
No, the number of appointments that are permitted through CBP-1, approximately 1,400 to 1,500 a day, are based on the capacity of our ports of entry. They are antiquated ports of entry that are also in need of funding to modernize them.
Hi, I'm Sarah Lapis. Is anyone detained while this order is in place get an entry ban of some kind to the U.S.? And is that a violation of asylum law?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get the first part of your question, but I can assure you of one thing, and that is that we comply with the law. We comply with asylum laws, and we comply with enforcement laws as well.
Hi, Secretary. Thank you for being out here today. Obviously, the media, the nation has had their eyes on the brutal crimes committed recently by illegal immigrants. One of them was actually wearing an ICE ankle monitor, yet this morning you said in an interview that the safety of the American people is the priority and that these individuals are vetted. But we know in our conversations with the ICE director, we've heard the FBI director say that there are significant gaps in intel. So what would you say to reassure the American people that they are in fact safe? And what would you say to the families who are mourning their loved ones because of these migrant crimes being committed?
Well, let me start where you ended. A message to the families is, of course, our hearts are with them, given their suffering. The safety and security of the American public is indeed our highest priority. We screen and vet individuals when we encounter them. If we learn of derogatory information subsequently, later in the process, then we take enforcement action accordingly. The individual who's responsible for a heinous criminal act is the criminal, and we need to bring the full force of the law to bear on that criminal, just as I did for 12 years as a federal prosecutor. We encountered dangerous people then, and we prosecuted them accordingly, and that will indeed continue.
For doing this. So you said you comply with, but there's reports of migrants being returned to Mexico
being returned to
Mexico. Migrants being put in an expedited removal to Mexico that said they manifested fear, but that fear wasn't heard, and it's not one, it's many cases. What do you have to say about that?
Our agents and officers, not only in the United States Border Patrol, but in U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services across the enforcement agencies and the humanitarian relief agencies that are part of the Department of Homeland Security, are well trained in identifying individuals who manifest fear, whether they vocalize that manifestation or whether there are signs physically of fear. They are well-trained and expert. They follow the guidelines that we have provided to them. Individual who does not establish a basis to remain in the United States will in fact be removed. We are enforcing the law.
Hello, sir. How's it going? Your department recently arrested 8 men from Tajikistan due to terrorism-related concerns. Is your department taking any new steps to better screen, identify, and detain migrants who may pose a threat to national security? And are there other migrants out there released by your department that you are concerned about from a national security perspective?
Camilo, let me reiterate the foundational point that the safety and security of the American people are our highest priority. If an individual is of concern from a national security or a public safety perspective, they are a priority for detention. The 8 individuals whom you reference are in fact in custody. We did not have derogatory information when they were first encountered. Concerns were raised subsequently. We used our law enforcement authorities to apprehend and detain them, and they are in removal proceedings as we speak.
I'm Paul Ingram of the Tucson Sentinel. You said that you're complying with asylum law and migrants and advocates.
Sorry, it's a little hard to hear in this venue.
How's that?
Better.
You said that you're complying with asylum laws, and migrants and advocates are still saying that people are getting deported. And you mentioned that there's guidelines. Do you think the guidelines are good enough then, that if people are saying they're still being deported even though they have credible fear?
Well, you said people are being deported. People are being removed. We're going to continue to remove individuals who have not established the basis to remain in the United States. Individuals who do not manifest fear are subject to expedited removal. We are executing that removal process, and we will continue to do so. Our agents and officers are well trained in identifying individuals who manifest fear, and they're complying with their obligations to respect that manifestation. And we place people in credible fear interviews when they manifest fear, and if we find a negative determination that they have not established credible fear, then we accordingly remove them.
Secretary,
Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
DHS confirms that at least 400 migrants with potential ISIS ties recently crossed into the United States.
That is incorrect.
Tell us why.
That reporting is incorrect. We do not have identified 400 people with potential ISIS ties. And let me again assure you that individuals who are identified to have those ties would pose a concern to us from a public safety and a security perspective, and they would be priorities for detention and removal.
Calling that initial NBC report inaccurate of the 400 potential ISIS ties?
I think it is inaccurate. Let me be clear. Let me be clear about something. Precision when one is addressing the facts is very, very important. I just answered your question. Precision, let me just be clear. Precision when one is dealing with the facts is very, very important. I've answered that question many, many a time.
Hi, Secretary. Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to ask, when people sign paperwork to get voluntary return, are they then banned from making the CBP appointment? And same question, but if they refuse to sign the voluntary return paperwork?
If an individual does not agree to voluntary return and they fail to establish a basis to remain in the United States, then they are subject to removal. And when they are removed, they are then subject to a bar to admission to the United States. If an individual has agreed to and been returned voluntarily, are they eligible for a CBP-1 appointment? They are.